The observation dome of the Velithrax Prime buzzed with excitement. Dozens of alien dignitaries pressed against the reinforced glass, each peering down into containment cells below like tourists admiring a new exhibit. "Quadruped?" asked a feathered Threx linguist, squinting at the monitor. "No, bipedal. Primitive musculature. Minimal dermal armor. Very expressive eyes," purred a Zalari biologist, her gelatinous form undulating with delight. "Frankly, adorable." For humans stood under the cool violet lights of their cell, silent, still, and, most damning of all, unimpressed. Commander Reza Halleck, closest to the door, stood at parade rest, eyes steady, jaw set calculating. He'd worn that look since capture, and not once had it slipped. Even now, under the watchful gaze of 100 alien eyes, he seemed less like a prisoner and more like a predator assessing a weak cage. Next to him, Sprocket, real name Chase Park, paced like a caffeinated squirrel. His jumpsuit sleeves were rolled up, and he was already fashioning something vaguely threatening out of a spoon, a floor grate, and the remnants of a translator implant. Every few minutes he would mutter, "I just need a power source, maybe a wire. A nuclear core wouldn't hurt." Lena Mirella sat cross-legged in the corner, sketching alien faces with a bit of charred wall on the cell's floor. Her voice, when she spoke, was always calm, almost dreamy. Their facial structure suggests empathy, maybe even guilt, she murmured, nodding toward the Zalari scientists beyond the glass. Interesting. And then there was Boomer. Boomer was doing push-ups, one-handed, while whistling Bohemian Rhapsody, badly. At the top of each push-up, he winked at the surveillance camera. Then he barked. "This all you got? I thought you nerds were advanced." The aliens observed with something akin to affection. Amazing. Such charisma. Such bravado, cooed one. They must be the least evolved of their species. Perhaps juveniles? Boomer belched. The aliens nodded sagely. Definitely juveniles. Back inside the cell, Reza turned to the others. "They think we're harmless." "Well," Sprocket said, twisting a coil into place with a grin, "we have been playing it dumb." "They've got no idea what we're capable of," Lena added, eyes soft but voice razor-sharp. Boomer flipped onto his back, grinning. "Good. I wanted to be a surprise." A hiss echoed through the chamber as the door opened. 2 guards slithered in, 6-limbed Gralvins with armor hides and stun rifles. They gestured with their weapons. "Follow. Time for physical trials." Boomer clapped like a kid at a carnival. "Ooh, are we finally getting to the obstacle course part of the alien abduction?" Reza stepped forward. "Let's see what they're really testing." They were marched through pristine corridors, past walls that shimmered with embedded data streams, and creatures in containment pods. Other prisoners stared at them, massive brutes, insectoids with razored legs, telepaths wearing psychic dampeners. Compared to them, the humans looked like children playing dress-up. The trial chamber was a high-ceilinged arena, its walls fitted with scanning equipment. A dozen alien scientists waited behind a barrier. In the center of the room stood a single object, a crate marked with hazard symbols, about the size of a desk. "Lift it," one of the scientists instructed. Boomer tilted his head. "You want me to lift the box?" "Yes." Simple test. Analyze load-bearing capacity. Record strain patterns. Reza gave a subtle nod. Boomer cracked his knuckles, strolled to the crate, bent at the knees, and heaved. The crate flew up like it was made of foam. Boomer twirled it over his head, then caught it behind his back with a grunt. Easy peasy. Got anything heavier. The aliens conferred rapidly, multiple limbs flailing. "Perhaps this species has augmented itself," one whispered. "They are adorable," another said again reverently. Boomer pretended to trip and caught the crate on one foot, balancing like a flamingo. Sprocket, leaning against the wall, whispered to Reza, "You noticed the mech hangar on the way in?" Reza nodded. "Guard rotations are every 14 minutes. Left wing has exposed venting." Lena chimed in. The Zalari researcher with the blotchy crest. She's unsure. She watched Boomer more than the scanners. "Good," Reza said. "We'll need leverage." Boomer set the crate down and stretched. "So, when do I get to fight one of your warbits?" The lead scientist, not picking up on the sarcasm, replied, "You wish to interface with the armored walker?" Boomer grinned. "Absolutely. I've got a date with it." The aliens laughed nervously. They thought he was joking. Reza turned his eyes to the glass wall behind them, where the observation deck overlooked the tank bay. There it stood, sleek, enormous, spider-legged, and humming with power. A symbol of alien superiority. Reza's voice was quiet, but carried weight. "That thing may be our way out." Sprocket adjusted his cobbled-together device. "Give me a few days. Maybe hours. Depends on if I can get a plasma regulator and duct tape." Lena nodded toward a cleaning droid trundling past. "Or we make friends. Someone on this ship is listening." Boomer flexes biceps. "Or I throw it." They all looked at him. He shrugged. "The tank." Sprocket blinked. "You can't throw a tank." Boomer's grin widened. "Haven't tried yet." Above them, in the glass-walled observation deck, the alien dignitaries watched as the humans filed out of chamber. One turned to the lead biologist. "So fragile. So quaint. Like pets." The biologist tilted her head. "Pets? No. Something else. Something harder to classify." Another alien scoffed. "Bah, they're just small, fleshy anomalies." Yet none of them noticed the way Reza's eyes lingered on the tank, or the fact that Sprocket had pocketed a small tool left unattended, or that Lena had made the empathetic alien researcher hesitate before tapping her datapad. They didn't understand what they'd captured. Not yet, but they would. The lights dimmed for night cycle, but no one in cell block 7A slept. Sprocket lay on his back beneath a bunk, sparks flickering from a makeshift tool clamped between his teeth. He muttered through clenched lips, "You'd think a hyper-advanced prison ship would use better encryption. This stuff's practically steampunk." "Talking to yourself again?" Reza asked, arms crossed, seated on the bunk above. "Talking to the circuits," Sprocket replied. "They respond better to flattery." Across the cell, Lena was sketching again, this time a wireframe of the ship's vent layout, recreated from memory. Each line was crisp, deliberate. "If we go through this maintenance tunnel," she said, tapping a junction near the center, "we can bypass 2 checkpoints and reach the mech bay undetected. In theory." Reza nodded, studying the diagram. "Sprocket, how soon can you open that tunnel?" Sprocket emerged from under the bed, goggles askew. "I've got the control node half dead already. Give me 6 hours and something conductive, like, say, Boomer's left earring." Boomer, sitting shirtless in a corner and using a barbell made from alien plumbing, didn't look up. "The earring stays. It's for balance." Sprocket rolled his eyes. "Oh, yes. Wouldn't want to compromise your chi while we're plotting a prison break." Lena smiled faintly. "Boomer's the reason the guards think we're just hyperactive pets. We should let him keep his bling." Reza stood. "We don't need to be underestimated anymore. We need them disoriented." The plan was simple in outline, dangerous in execution. Cause a blackout. Use the confusion to access the walker hangar. Hijack a ship or the walker itself. Escape. Sprocket had the blackout covered. He'd rigged a power diverter from a stolen light fixture and 3 forks. It was ugly, unholy, and just enough to fry the local grid for 30 seconds. Maybe less. Lena was the key to access. Her conversations with the Zalari empath, whom she quietly named Ripple, had yielded surprising results. The alien had started lingering near their cell more often, sometimes even pausing to listen. "She's conflicted," Lena said that night, voice low. "She thinks we're sapient, that keeping us caged violates research ethics." "Smart girl," Boomer said, dropping his makeshift weight with a clang. "Took her, what, 3 days?" "Don't mock her," Lena replied. "She's our best shot at opening the blast doors." Reza raised an eyebrow. "Will she help us?" "She's close. One more nudge." Boomer leaned back against the wall. "I could nudge her. I'm very persuasive." "No," Lena said quickly. "She likes quiet honesty. Not whatever your vibe is." Boomer smirked. "You wound me." A siren blared outside, short, sharp, and routine. Night cycle patrol shift. Reza checked the time with a glance at the blinking sensor in the ceiling. 14-minute rotations, he said. Sprocket, I can hack the door in 20 seconds once the lights cut, Sprocket replied. But after that, we're allowed. No hiding. That's why we need the walker, Reza said. It's armored, armed, and docked next to the shuttle bay. And piloting it? Lena asked. Boomer raised his hand. No, Sprocket groaned. Boomer, it's not a gym machine with missiles. That thing needs neural sync. Boomer cracked his neck. I can sync with anything if I yell loud enough. Reza didn't laugh, but his lip twitched. He's not wrong. They think he's incapable. They won't see it coming. That next morning, the opportunity presented itself. Ripple lingered longer than usual during the breakfast drop. Her soft-pulsing bioluminescence flickered in a rhythmic pattern Lena had learned to read. Distress, curiosity, hesitation. Good morning, Lena said, her tone warm and unthreatening. Ripple hesitated, then stepped closer to the force field. Your companion, the strong one. He has damaged the viewing glass. They all turned. Sure enough, Boomer had drawn smiley faces into the cell wall with his thumb. The material, alien alloy, wasn't supposed to scratch. He gets bored easily, Lena replied. Humans need stimulation. We get unpredictable without it. Ripple studied her. You are not like the others we have studied. You do not fear us. Lena met her gaze. We've survived worse. Earth is full of things that want to eat us. We just make better plans. Ripple paused, then reached into her satchel and slid a data crystal toward the food slot. You did not receive this from me. Lena smiled. Of course not. Later, in the corner of the cell, Sprocket cracked open the data crystal. Schematics, internal power systems, full wiring of the hangar bay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a jailbreak. Reza nodded. We go tomorrow. Tomorrow? Boomer asked. Why wait? Because I want them distracted, Reza said. There's a dignitary visit scheduled. High command. Everyone important will be watching us. Sprocket grinned. You planning to make an impression? Reza turned to Boomer. Think you can get your hands on the walker? Boomer's smile widened slowly, like a sunrise over a battlefield. You just give the signal. Outside the cell, Ripple paused before moving on. The data logs would show no deviation. Her superiors would not question it. But a whisper echoed in her mind, adaptable, dangerous, alive, and for the first time, she felt afraid. The dignitary procession filed into the observation chamber with a pomp only interstellar bureaucracy could summon. Gralvan generals, Phyrexian nobles, and half a dozen Zalari scholars gathered behind a reinforced glass, sipping nutrient gel and chatting idly as they peered down into the arena. There, under the sterile lavender lights, stood the 4 Earthlings, on display once again. No restraints, no translator nodes, just a 4x4-meter test platform and an array of equipment designed to measure non-lethal species stress responses. They're so compact, a Phyrexian whispered, clicking its mandibles, like emotionally resilient rodents. Delightful, a Zalari cooed. I hope they're not endangered. They volunteered for this, added a Gralvan guard, not bothering to mass a lie. Curious creatures. Inside the arena, Reza felt the weight of their stares, but kept his posture calm, ready. Everything had to appear routine. Until it wasn't. Sprocket leaned in, whispering just loud enough for their comm implants to catch. Power grid tapped. 2 circuits hot. We're on the clock, once I pushed the fork into the vent. Reza gave the barest nod. Lena, standing beside a tower of biometric scanners. Close her eyes. Ripple's watching, she murmured. Far side. She's nervous. Good, Reza said. Nerves mean doubt. Boomer stood off to the side, bouncing on the balls of his feet, like a boxer waiting for the bell. His jumpsuit had been subtly altered, thanks to Sprocket, allowing just enough flexibility for what was coming. He cracked his knuckles, loudly, ready to ruin some alien science projects. Boss? Let's give them a show, Reza replied. The alien announcer's voice came through the overhead speakers. Subject Beta 4. Please proceed to the center platform and lift the load cube. Boomer stepped forward, stretching theatrically. The cube sat innocently before him, about 2 meters across and half as tall. It wasn't a tank, but it was meant to simulate the weight of a heavy weapons platform. Something no organic should have lifted unaided. Boomer, Reza said quietly. On my mark. The alien audience leaned in, eager. Boomer knelt. Sprocket jammed the fork into the conduit. The lights died. Gasps. Sirens. Then chaos. Backup systems kicked in a second later, bathing the room in pulsing red light, but it was too late. The force fields blinked. The glass barrier between arena and observation deck darkened momentarily, and Boomer moved. He didn't just lift the cube. He hurled it, high, hard, and directly at the upper wall. The crate exploded against the reinforced glass with a deafening thud, spiderwebbing cracks across its surface. Screams erupted on the other side. I believe that concludes the demonstration. Boomer growled. Reza was already sprinting. The side door had failed shut during the surge, and Sprocket's override clicked in just as he reached it. It hissed open. Boomer, go right. Mech Bay. Now. Time to make friends. Boomer roared, barreling through. Lena ducked low, sliding a smoke capsule from her boot. Ripple had given it to her. For emergencies only. She crushed it underfoot. A cloud of shimmering fog burst out, triggering containment alarms across the facility. Sprocket pulled a second device from his belt, a hacked drone transponder. Diverting patrols to Section 12B. They'll think we're heading for the escape pods. Perfect, Reza said. Let's walk them right into their own blind spot. In the observation deck, panic turned to fury. Seal the Mech Bay. They've breached Level 2. How did they override internal sensors? But not everyone was shouting. Ripple stood silent, eyes glowing with quiet horror as she watched the humans disappear into the corridor. They planned this, she whispered. They're just animals, another protested. Ripple shook her head slowly. No, they're hunters. Meanwhile, Boomer reached the Mech Bay and saw it, the walker. 30 tons of armored nightmare, bristling with energy lances and kinetic launchers. Sleek, deadly, and powered down, waiting for a neuropilot. Boomer slapped a palm on the access panel. It beeped. Identity not recognized. He shrugged and punched it. The panel dented. Alarms wailed. The walker's emergency startup kicked in. Manual override accepted. It said flatly, "C." Boomer grinned. You just have to speak its language. Climbing into the cockpit was easy. The controls were not. Okay, joystick. Throttle. Buttons. Definitely not that one. The walker jolted to life, shuddering as its limbs flexed. Energy hummed through the chamber. Then the bay door exploded open, and a dozen Grauvan soldiers poured in. Cease and surrender, one barked. Boomer pulled a lever. The walker stomped forward. Once. Twice. Then it leapt, straight over the barricade. Nope. Boomer roared, activating its primary cannon. A sonic blast pulsed out, hurling guards aside like bowling pins. Elsewhere, Reza, Lena, and Sprocket reached the shuttle dock. Locked, predictably. Boomer, Reza shouted into his implant. You got eyes? Yep, Boomer crackled back. Also got guns. Big ones. Want me to knock? The shuttle bay doors dented inward as the walker stomped toward them. Then crunch. They caved entirely. Boomer waved from the cockpit. Need a ride? Sprocket hooped. That's what I'm talking about. They piled into the shuttle, Reza last. He turned, scanned the corridor one final time, and saw Ripple. She stood alone, a hand raised, not to stop them, but to wave goodbye. The doors sealed. The engines roared to life. Above, in the fractured observation deck, a Zalari scientist collapsed into a chair. They were supposed to be harmless. Ripple's voice came through the cracked comm. They were. Then softly, until you caged them. The shuttle tore through the upper atmosphere, like a wounded comet. Fire licking the hull as they punched past orbital defense satellites. Behind them, alarms wail from the command tower of the prison ship Cradle of Cognition, its massive form now visibly scarred. The Zalari had built it as a fortress of enlightenment, untouchable, unbreachable, serene. Now it burned. Reza, Lena said over the comms. 2 interceptors incoming, 18 seconds out. They're fast. Reza adjusted the shuttle's angle, jaw clenched. We need a distraction. Boomer's still in the walker, Sprocket said. Technically. On cue, the bay doors beneath the shuttle split open, and the walker dropped. Boomer, grinning from the cockpit, guided the falling mech into a controlled spin, limbs extended, vents wide. Who wants to dance? One of the interceptors veered off to avoid collision. The other wasn't so lucky. The walker slammed into its fuselage midair with a shriek of twisting metal, converting impact into momentum. For a moment, the two crafts spiraled together like a pair of drunk stars. Then Boomer ejected. He soared through the sky in an emergency drop harness, roaring with laughter, while the walker and interceptor became a fireball behind him. Lena's eyes went wide. He just threw himself at a spaceship. Reza pulled the shuttle into a climb. Boomer's an artist. Chaos is his medium. Parachute deploying. Boomer called through static. Estimated landing zone hard. Sprocket scanned the NAV feed. We'll never get to him in time. He's landing on the penal moon. Reza cursed under his breath. Of course he is. The penal moon, Zalari designation, Observation Outpost 89, was where incorrigible subjects were dumped. No guards. No science. Just orbiting exile. Survival optional. Reza, Lena said carefully, Boomer did that so we could escape. I'm not leaving him. Silence. Then Sprocket sighed, redirecting course. Hold on to your fillings. The shuttle banked hard, alarms howling in protest. Plasma trails lit up behind them like comet tails as they dove. Below, the penal moon wasn't much to look at. Craggy, gray, and bitterly cold. A scattered skeleton of failed species littered the terrain. Broken shelters, shattered drones, half-buried bones. They found Boomer standing in a crater, one boot smoldering, helmet under one arm. He looked up at the descending shuttle like a man waiting for a taxi. About time, he said when the ramp lowered. I've been here nearly 2 minutes. Reza helped him aboard. You alive? Can't kill art, baby. Once everyone was in, Sprocket rerouted power to the main drive. No more detours. We hit the dark side relay and jumped to deep space. After that, we'd disappear. But the Zalari weren't done yet. As they cleared the moon's gravity, a shadow loomed ahead, a war cruiser, newly arrived, bristling with weapons and intent. They're hailing us, Lena said, fingers flying across the console. Put them through, Reza said. The holoscreen lit up with a high-ranking Zalari, in full regalia, eyes blazing. Return the stolen craft and submit for reintegration. Resistance will result in extermination. Reza glanced back at his team. Lena's hand hovered near the launch controls. Sprocket was mid-hack into the FTL failsafe. Boomer was flexing. He stepped forward, arms folded. Funny thing about humans, he said. You call us cute, small, harmless. The Zalari didn't blink. Reza continued, voice calm. You studied our biology, our stress responses. You ran simulations. And somehow, you missed the part where we make a habit of breaking the rules of survival. Your primitives, the Zalari snapped. Barely post-industrial. We launched nukes before we invented seatbelts. Boomer called out. You abducted us for research, Lena said, stepping beside Reza. Now you've got your results. The war cruiser charged weapons. Sprocket looked up from his panel. Time to jump in 10. Might want to brace. Why? Reza asked. Sprocket grinned. Because I rerouted the FTL coil through a coffee heater, and if I did it right, we'll slingshot through a gravitational eddy so hard it'll singe our eyebrows from the inside. Boomer nodded appreciatively. That's some art. The war cruiser fired. The shuttle jumped. Space folded like a paper crane. Light smeared across the viewports, and the stars themselves seemed to shatter. When they reappeared, the void was quiet. Dark, peaceful, no war cruiser, no alarms, just the hum of an overtaxed shuttle, and 4 humans still standing. Reza exhaled slowly. Status: alive. Lena said, checking systems. FTL drives fried. Will drift. Life support. Reza asked. Functional, Sprocket replied. Barely. Enough time to send a beacon? Reza asked. Lena nodded. If someone's listening. Reza looked out the viewport, eyes on the stars. They will be. Earth never stops looking. Boomer cracked open an alien ration pack. So, what do we do now? We survive, Reza said. We adapt, like always. Sprocket leaned back in his chair. You know, in another context, this would have been a successful first contact. Lena smiled faintly. They'll think twice before calling us adorable again. Outside, the stars twinkled, indifferent, ancient, and waiting. And somewhere, deep in Zalari space, analysts pored over footage of a human lifting a tank-sized mass and hurling it with joy. The final report would be brief. Earthlings, not suitable for containment. Proceed with extreme caution. Or better, avoid entirely.